Hey y'all, it's Mingo and Karen, and we are so happy to have you here. Listen, I don't know about some of y'all, but it's easy to kind of get stuck with going through the motion and you get into your routine. Oh my gosh, especially when you have kids. But you start to get kind of stuck into this routine where every single day you're kind of doing the same thing. You're going to work, you got to come home, the kids got this, you got to do that. You know, if you got a little baby, you got to, go pick the baby up from daycare and do all of those things. And I'm not going to tell you something that I haven't lived. It can be challenging to make sure that your relationship is intentional when you are, having to deal with just life. Not to mention even the things that you're dealing with on your own. I don't think people really understand that in relationships, you are going to grow and change. I can remember the pivotal moments in my life. I can remember when I turned 26 and I felt different. When I turned 29, when I turned 34, when I turned 36, when I turned 41. I remember those times when things shifted in my life. 49 was a shift for me. 51 is a shift for me. And so what I'm saying is you are going to continue to evolve. But as you evolve, so should the relationship. So don't get stuck in the motion. As you change and as you shift, let your partner know what's going on and say, hey, the way that things affected me yesterday or the way that things affected me before, it doesn't affect me that way. Or I would like to see us put this more as a priority. I know it wasn't important to me before, but it's important to me now. Don't get stuck going through the motions in your relationship. Be intentional about how you proceed in your relationship, how you move forward in your relationship, and that's how you keep your relationship going.
And as y'all can see, I'm a storyteller. I like to give analogies. And when Karen talks about going through the motions, I'll say it like this. If you ever worked out before, whether it's in a gym or whether it's at home, that first day you start that workout, you are very intentional. Mm-hmm. You really give it all you have. Most people, or some people take baby steps and work their way up. That second day, you're intentional. That third day, you're intentional. That fourth day, you're intentional. That fifth day, you're intentional. Now the weekend comes. Go back to some of them old habits. When Monday comes and you force yourself to get up, you don't really do it as hard as you did it the first time. Mm-hmm. The second day, not as hard. The third day, not as hard. The fourth day, not as hard. The fifth day, not as hard. So what you've done that second week is just gone through the emotions. Mm-hmm. But had you been intentional for 2 weeks and looked at your results, because when you let that weekend, when you go through the motions and you let that weekend lack, you're not intentional, so you don't get that result you want. Mm-hmm. So my whole point for saying that is be intentional in your relationship. When you tell somebody you love them, show them you love them. Mm-hmm. If you tell somebody you're going to be there, you're going to do something, you give them your word, you keep your word as much as you can. And if things change up, just tell them. Mm-hmm. Just say, hey, I couldn't come through with what I wanted to come through with. Don't act like when you show up, well, you told me this 2 weeks ago. My bad. No. You just be more intentional of that in the relationship. And I know that's hard for some people. It's hard to just go through the front door and say, this is what it is. Not because you're a liar. It might be simply because you don't like to disappoint. Mm-hmm. People don't look at that factor that some people just don't like to disappoint people because it makes them overwhelmingly feel bad. Mm-hmm. So the whole point of all I'm saying is be intentional in everything that you do, especially a relationship.
Be cognizant of what's going on around you and within your relationship. Don't just go through the motions, and make sure that you are intentional. I promise you, it's one of the main things that's going to help you when no matter how many ups and downs you have, if you can stay focused on that and keep your eye on the prize and stay intentional, you'll be just fine. Happy relationship building.